Hey everyone, welcome back to another Mattel Jurassic World review. Today we're taking a look at the brand new attack pack, Allioramos. This is another brand new species that's never been seen before in the Jurassic line. This figure is currently being found in Targets across the US. It started showing up on the West Coast about a couple weeks ago, and it finally made its way over to the East Coast. It's an attack pack, so retails for $7.99, so hit up those Targets and good luck. So let's just go over the packaging really quick before we crack this figure open. Comes in the standard Primal attack style packaging with the paddock fences and the sunset background, Jurassic World logo up in the corner, Owen in blue on the front as always, and then spinning around you get a picture of some of the other figures in this wave. So a little note about the figures available in this wave: the Musaurus is not in the wave with the Allioramos. The Musaurus was available in the previous wave that came out. So when you find this wave on the shelf, you're going to find the Allioramos, the Ketchup and Mustard Dimorphodon, or what I like to call it, the McMorphodon, the Velociraptor, and Bumpy. So for those of you still looking for Bumpy, good news is Bumpy is available in this wave, just like it was available in the previous wave. So enough about the packaging. Let's crack this cool looking figure open and take a closer look. And here is the Allioramos the package. And this figure was one of my most anticipated from Mattel this year, and it does not disappoint. I absolutely love the color scheme on this. The main body is cast in a dark brown plastic. You have these nice bright red markings all over the head, back, and most of the tail. And they have a nice off-white coat underneath it. So it definitely has a decent amount of paint apps, and I just think it looks absolutely fantastic. For those who are wondering what an Allioramos is, it is a type of tyrannosaur from the late Cretaceous period of Mongolia. It lived about 70 million years ago, and it belongs to a group of dinosaurs known as the long-snouted tyrannosaurs. Their skulls were much more slender and lower than the heavier, bulkier skulls of their larger cousins like Albertosaurus and Tyrannosaurus rex. And also, Allioramos had the most amount of teeth in its skull than any other tyrannosaur species so far discovered. So before we take a closer look, let's just do a couple of quick measurements. This figure, for an attack pack, is actually a decent size figure. It's almost on that Savage Strike size, so this is definitely one of the larger attack pack figures. So this figure, if you measure along the bend of its tail, it's about 7.5 inches long and just over 3 inches tall to the top of the skull right there. So Allioramos is estimated to be between 16 and 20 feet long. So I'll put this figure somewhere in the 125 scale to the 132 scale range. So let's zoom in and take a closer look at some of the finer details on this figure. The head shape on this Allioramos is really well done. It is very close to the actual fossil of this animal. And you'll notice one thing on here. This figure actually has feathers on the back of its neck. So this is the second Jurassic World figure to have feathers. The first one being the Mononychus that came out last year from Dino Rivals, and it just looks so cool. There is evidence that some of the Tyrannosaurs did at least have feathers. You have their relative Dilong, and the large Utyrannus was covered pretty much head to toe in feathers. So it is pretty cool that Mattel is giving these smaller Tyrannosaurs feathers. I think that is a very nice touch. Another thing Allioramos was known for along the top of its snout, it had a row of 5 bony crests. You can see the 5 crests on here are beautifully sculpted in. You have some really nice scale detail around the eye socket right here. That has a little bit of shrink wrap. You can see the inorbital fenestra in the orbit pretty clearly, but most of the Jurassic Park style dinosaurs, their skulls are pretty shrink wrap. And then you also have some really nice large scale sculpted along the lower jaw right here. Now mine does have a paint mishap. A problem that a lot of us have been experiencing with the Mattel line is misprinted eyes. You can see the eye on here is misprinted just out of where the actual eye is sculpted on this figure. If you turn around on this side, you can see the eye is printed correctly. I actually have quite a few figures in my collection now with misprinted eyes. So Mattel's really gonna get the ball rolling on the quality control on these eyes. Like, if the eyes aren't right on the figure, it just kind of throws off the whole thing. So maybe I will find another one someday, because this is a great figure. I like doing repaints, and I think this figure will make a fine repaint candidate. So going down to the body, you can see the whole body is sculpted in real nice scale detail. This is probably one of the nicest sculpted attack pack figures Mattel has put out so far. You know, they really up their detail with their Savage Strike Scutosaurus, and the detail and amount of sculpting on this Allioramos is definitely on par with the Scutosuchus. You can see The arms have 2 claws, and they are not pronated. The legs are sculpted really nicely. Look at all that beautiful scale detail. The toe claws are not painted in. That's pretty common for any of the Attack Pack figures. They don't paint in any of the claws, and all that beautiful scale detail continues all the way down to the tip of the tail, and I just love the contrast of that red and brown on here, and then even underneath you have some nice large belly scales, and you got some nice off-white paint for the belly. So all in all, a fantastically sculpted and painted figure, not finger. Moving on to articulation. The articulation is fairly standard on this figure. The mouth can close and open actually pretty wide. The head is on a joint that allows it to move down and up. And there's a little bit of a rattling motion. I don't know if you can hear it. I'll put it in my microphone in here. My old Attack Pack Proceratosaurus had the same problem, but none of the joints are broken. I think just some very small piece is just kicking around in that body cavity. The front arms can move backwards and forwards. The hind legs can move backwards and forwards. There is no hip pivot on this figure. And the tail can it rotate? I think the tail's actually either stuck on mine or glued in. Most of them have like tail rotation, which is kind of pointless. I wish they'd just give them a hinge like the Attack Pack Colovosaurus. I guess it does have articulation. Mine just seems to be really, really tight. I am not going to force it because I don't feel like breaking this figure. Alright, let's move on with some comparisons. First up is one of the human figures. Here it is with John Hammond, and the human figures scale really well with this Allioramos. And next up is the Attack Pack Mononychus, which is the only other feathered dinosaur in this line. And next up, this is not a Jurassic figure. I just want to point something out here. Here is Chinsusaurus. This is another long-snouted tyrannosaur. This figure actually came out this year from Safari Limited. So who knew we were going to get 2 obscure long-snouted tyrannosaur species this year? You know, if you're a dinosaur collector, this is definitely a great year to be collecting. And lastly, here it is with the other Tyrannosaur species in the Mattel Jurassic World line. The epic roaring T-Rex in the back, the battle damaged Albertosaurus, and the massive biters Tarbosaurus. So who would have known that we would have 4 different species of Tyrannosaurs in the Jurassic World line? I think that's absolutely fantastic. So bravo, Mattel. Bravo. So, final thoughts on this figure. I think it's absolutely fantastic. It was one of my most highly anticipated figures from Mattel this year, and it does not disappoint. I think it is one of the best sculpted Attack Pack figures we've ever gotten in the line. I absolutely love the inclusion of the feathers on the back of the head. The scale detail and paint job on it are absolutely fantastic. All around, a truly outstanding figure. And this figure will definitely make an appearance on my top 5 figures from Mattel video that I'll eventually be doing at the end of the year. So that will do it for the review. The next figure I'm expecting from Mattel is the Sinoceratops. I should have that figure in sometime by the middle of September. So if you're enjoying the content on this channel, show your support by hitting that subscription button just below the video. Each subscription helps out the channel tremendously and is greatly appreciated. I'll see you guys for the next one.